For this video, I'm going to show you how I use D16's Decimort 2 to create classic video game phrase style effects. We're going to use this phrase here, Ready Player One.
Ready Player One.
First thing I want to use is a high pass filter and get rid of all this low end. So we'll just use Logic's EQ here and we'll move it up. Let's change the dB per octave so we get it as steep as possible. And let's have a listen.
Ready Player One. Ready Player One. Ready Player One.
I'm also going to get rid of this high end up here. Don't really need that.
Ready Player One.
And,
Ready Player One.
And I'm going to boost the mid frequencies.
Ready Player One. Ready Player One.
Now I'm going to add in Decimort 2. Decimort 2 is a very aggressive bit crusher. It's got a lot of different parameters, a lot of different functionality. So this is what I use for processing video game sounds.
Ready Player One.
So we can just scan through some of the presets and see if it gets us close to what we're looking for.
Ready Player One. 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 Ready Player One.
Okay, so let's start with this below the threshold. Now, the reason I like to start out with some of these presets is there's some very talented sound designers that come up with some really great sounding stuff. And I know everybody likes to sit there and say, oh, I program everything from scratch. That's fine, you can. But there's no shame in using presets and using them as a starting point.
Ready Player One. Ready Player One. Ready Player One. Ready Player One. Ready Player One.
That sounds quite nice. So let's lower the sample rate on this. And again, we want to try and get that old school arcade texture.
Ready Player One. 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 Ready Player One.
So just really lowered the sample rate and really lowered the bit depth, put on a bandpass filter on the Decimort as well. And that gets us really, really close to that old school arcade sound.
Ready Player One.
That's the original sound.
Ready Player One.
And it's that borderline where you can barely understand what it's saying, because I know as a kid in the 80s, I could almost never understand what some of the arcade games are saying, especially pole position. So this is how I create the lo-fi effects for video game sounds.